Really need to, as black people, stop coping amongst ourselves. Black people, almost everywhere you look, whether it's in South Africa, whether it's on the African continent as a whole, whether it's African Americans, wherever, can't take accountability. It's like black people everywhere, they're stuck in a victimhood mindset. We're stuck in always making excuses, portraying ourselves as victims, blaming everybody and everything and anything other than ourselves for the problems that we find ourselves in. Never any solutions, always excuses. It's like we have this thing where we'll always externalize blame. And in so doing so, we externalize the responsibility to make solutions to the problems that we face. But black people always want to look outside before they want to come inside. And I believe it fundamentally stems from the fact that us as a people fail to look at ourselves honestly. And I was watching Frank Zanu's podcast today, and he was like, you know what, in South Africa, you had 51 million black people. This was in 1994. And you had 2.8 million white people build this country up to the standard of being a European country. And then we continue, you'll hear. And this is something I've been speaking about now for years, but you'll always get hate. You'll be called a coconut. You'll be called a self-hating black person for merely speaking the truth, because it's almost as if the truth is contagious. This truth is allergic. Our people are allergic to the truth in this country. And all across the diaspora, we're allergic to hard, honest truth. That white people came here and they built this country up to the standard of being a European country. And over the past 32 years, we have destroyed it. Those are the facts. The fact of the matter is that in 1994, we had the most industrialized economy in Africa. We had a functioning electrical grid, the most advanced electrical grid in the developing world, might I add, ESCOM, right? Most black people in this country did not have electrical access, but I think it was the Department of Trade and Industry, something like that, kept on warning the presidency that, guys, you need to build infrastructure because supply has to meet the ever increasing demand, and we failed to do that. State-owned enterprises, SAA was one of the best airlines on the African continent, run by the apartheid state. We know what happened with SAA. We know what Ozuma did. We know what the corruption, the cadres and the Guptas did to SAA. The railway system was one of the best in the world, right? Our ports were functioning. Today, our ports are one of the worst in the world, objectively speaking, right? It's like black people fail to build. Then I asked myself, you know what? We fought white people for quote unquote liberation. Then you look at it, it's like we fought white people because this separate amenity act, it's not fair, it's not fair. We said, no, white people, we want access to the schools. We want access to the universities. We want access to the economy. Then we take those things and we destroy it. The economy, we failed to build our economy. 10 years, our GDP has been stagnating in South Africa. Our gross fixed capital formation is below the historical average that you need. We're not building into the productive capacity of the economy. What that does that result in? It results in unemployment. It results in poverty for your people. Black people wanted the economy, but they don't grow the economy. Look at what we've done with this liberation over the past 32 years. And I'm like, Yazin, it's like we fought for what, actually? We fought white people because, we said, no, we also want in. We want the government. We want to be part of the economy. We want access to the infrastructure that you fundamentally built for your people that you denied us access to. Then when we're allowed in, we destroy it. Universities, Tux, UFS, UCT, Stellenbosch are all colonial apartheid era universities. Can you show me what universities has the post-apartheid government built? And by the way, those that they have built, is it enough to accommodate for the amount of students who keep on complaining about they lack space to get into university? But the Afrikaners, they're building academia, 3 billion rand university. And as Ngabo Ngamini said, watch 10 years, black people are going to be like, guys, transform. Don't build, but we don't build. That's been the pattern. Can't deny it, can't argue with the facts. We don't support or build black businesses, but rather our entire economic policy in this country is built upon transforming what already exists instead of building. Case in point, BEE. We take from white businesses, we want shares in white businesses, but we don't build black business for ourselves. And they'll call me the coconut. They'll call me the self-hating black people when their mindset is fundamentally shackled and unliberated. Guys, even if we're being honest, the South African Defense Force, if we're being honest, the South African Defense Force was a colonial instrument and it was used to maintain white minority rule in Southern Africa. And it was used by the West to expand their sphere of influence in places like Angola, right? But objectively speaking, the South African Defense Force was the most capable and the most advanced military force in Africa. And this is where we have to be honest about this relationship between ideology and racial transformation and demographic representativity and real world outcomes and performance. It's almost as if those two variables have an inverse relationship. The more you prioritize racial justice, racial representation, demographic representativity, and making things more black without making them more capable and competent, the more inefficient things become. Because the South African Defense Force right now, they kicked out all the apartheid era people and they brought in these people who are fat, who are incompetent, who really can't really do their jobs. Our military is a joke. It's led by Angie Motshekga, by the way, who is the Minister of Basic Education, where we have some of the worst educational outcomes. 80% of grade 4 learners can't read or write for meaning, yet that person was shifted and transferred to being our Minister of Defense. It's an absolute joke what the South African government has become. And you merely have to juxtapose it to somebody like Pete Hegseth, for example. Irregardless of how you feel about Donald Trump's government and Pete Hegseth himself, this is someone who was a veteran who served in the United States Army. Compare this to Angie Motshekga. What does she know about the military? What does she know? Completely unqualified for the job. Yet that's the type of things we have to stomach as South African people. So we have to be honest. There's people who even in the comment section who will corroborate what I'm saying, who know more about military than me. The South African military does not have any functioning warships. The state of infrastructure and machinery and technology in our army is a mess. It's a joke from what it once was. We have to be honest as black people. Hence why for me, I'll always reject narratives that portray black people as eternal victims being acted upon. We lack agency. Because that's precisely the narrative that is exploited by our political elites to evade accountability for their actions. They perpetually say, no, it's colonization's fault, it's apartheid's fault, failing to take accountability for your role that you played in making this country more poor. We have a problem as a culture of we don't build, we don't maintain, we always complain, we make excuses instead of being people who build. And the things we inherit, we have a propensity to being corrupt. Like, I mean, guys, I saw on TikTok here, Lagos. They said, show us a country. I was debating with these white guys and they are very racist. I still have a lot of ploys with their ideology and their worldview, fundamentally speaking. But they said, what is an example of a African country that is first world? Why is every African leader corrupt? And watch people make excuses. They can say, no, the reason it's like this because it's colonization. Remember, there's neo-colonialism that's still happening. And I'm like, okay. But is that the entire story? And how is that actually taking us forward? Moreover is what I'll ask. Because you're making excuses as to why we're not developing, but you're not actually telling me concrete things. Because the narrative that I propose, where black people start taking agency and accountability for the mistakes that they made and to progress, that's actually empowering. That's true empowerment, not this eternal victimhood narrative that we're fed and forced to comply with as black people. And as soon as we don't comply with it, we're clever blacks all of a sudden. So that's what I'll say.